This morning's spiritual address. First, before we start anything, take a breath in for yourself. And as crazy as it sounds, my grandmother wouldn't want me to ask a woman her age, but ladies and gentlemen, say your age out loud. Now take another breath in. Let it go. And say the age that you feel you are, irrespective of chronology. So I'm a 57-year-old male who I feel like I'm in my 30s. I feel like I'm 32, and that doesn't change. But there are moments in life where I feel like I'm 80. And there are moments in life where I feel like I'm 16. Well, 17 maybe. The song Rise Up by Schoeller, I didn't anticipate speaking about it, and I didn't anticipate speaking about this event. But a couple of weeks ago, I'm actually in my 6th, almost 7th week of a left hip replacement. So at age 57, I had my left hip replaced. And prior to, for the past 4 years, I've been walking, no pun intended, in the world, not realizing the level of stress that I was under with the discomfort. It was never full pain, but discomfort. And after the surgery, everything went exceptionally well. I'm home. But here's where Spirit intervened, and that's the purpose of this. And it's a personal story. I was in my home. My home is not very large. It's a 100-year-old home. And I was walking with a walker from the staircase through the living room towards the dining room. And this was the first major surgical event that I've ever had happen in my life. Yeah, it was a wow. And with that, I was feeling very blue because I'm 57. I feel like I'm 18. I feel like I'm 32. I feel like I'm 54, but my body feels like I'm 80 because I've got a walker. Now, my mother was put into a facility due to Alzheimer's and had broken her hip twice within 3 days. So she understood what a broken hip was like. She was in rehab. They did not assist her, and she fell while in rehab. So she had it twice in 3 days. Here's the point. It's not about that part. My mother's passed to spirit. And in the moment I was walking with my walker, having a really blue and rotten moment, and I'm talking about feeling like you could not lift me an inch off the pile of the carpet emotionally. My mom shows up. She put her hand on my shoulder, and she said, for every time you walked me with my walker from my bedroom to the dining table in the facility, and for every time you walked me around the facility with my walker, I wanted to make sure you knew I am walking with you. Right. Wow. Sobbing because I'm a non-emotional person. Feeling my mother, which is exquisite because as a servant of spirit, I'm in service to you. But to have a moment where my own mom showed up to reassure me, wow. So here's the point. I share this story with you not because I love telling personal stories, although I do. I share this story as a reminder for you, and I'm going to start including the song Rise Up, because Schoeller says, rise up unafraid. Ladies and gentlemen, in our lives, all of us have had a moment, irrespective of our age, where we've felt that same feeling like you could not lift us off the carpet. I don't care what the circumstance may have been. It's irrelevant to how long we felt it, whether it be for a few moments or whether it be for weeks or months. We all, as human beings, can understand the feeling of being deflated, unsupported, perhaps low in our emotional state. And spirit has always had opportunity to remind us that, yes, ladies and gentlemen, we can rise up unafraid. The human experience is a magnificent experience because we have the opportunity to evolve. And in these moments of self-doubt, or for myself, personal torture, we can have the experience of reminder that Spirit is at our side, literally helping us to take the next step. Even when we're afraid and we feel that we have to hold on for dear life, Spirit reminds us we can take the next step. And then Schoeller says, I'll rise up in spite of the age for you. For you who? For you who? And I think about this, and I think for you, for me first. For me to be able, for you to be able to get up and move ahead takes a lot of strength and courage. We all know what it's like to have the wind knocked out of our sails. But the human experience and the source that created us helps us to stand firm and strong once again to move ahead, even in the face of adversity and even in moments when we do not know what is next. And we do it. And we rise up. And in that, we will do it 1,000 times again in the lyrics of the song, because we are fortunate as human beings to have resilience. We are fortunate as human beings to have a heart that beats so strongly within our being that has shown us that we can move forward and live and love and find hope in the future again. And with this, he says, all we need is hope, and for that we have each other. When Sharon introduced me and was so loving in her introduction and said she knows that when things are down, I'm someone that she can call and I will be there for her, in that we have each other. Not just Sharon and I, ladies and gentlemen, all of you who are in this room at this church service right now have each other. We all have an understanding of Spirit. We all have a belief that life continues after this life. And in having each other, we can support each other through our lives to celebrate the moments that are exquisite. But even more importantly, to help each other lift ourselves up when we don't have enough strength to do it ourselves. And herein lies, for me, the most magnificent part, which is we also have Spirit at our side, as evidenced through mediumship, through different mediums for us, to give us gentle reminders that even in a moment where we think we are our lowest, Spirit is there for us. I had the privilege of sitting with a woman recently who is a new mother. Her child is but a few months old, and out of my mouth came, your father was there during the birth, and she was weeping because her father had passed, and then a reminder of he was being present to a current conversation. The statement was, you're looking at Halloween costumes for your son already. She burst out laughing. Her father showed me Uncle Fester from the Addams Family, and I said, he loved the Uncle Fester idea. She gasped. She said, my husband and I were laughing as we were looking at the costume last night. In that moment, we're reminded that Spirit is so beautifully aware of our lives and of their presence in our lives in a moment where we may not know that they are there. And for me as a medium, I feel that's really important. Is it important to get every detail perfectly correct, as correct as possible? Yes. But if I can say to one of you that you have a Keurig coffee machine and you're making a Keurig coffee and your grandma's in spirit and she's standing next to you during the making of that coffee, for me that's still a wow, because it's showing you in a moment. When you may be waking up and not caffeinated and need a little morning boost to get you going, if it's coffee that you drink, that your grandma's standing there in a moment where you wouldn't necessarily be thinking of her, And in that moment, she may be doing what my mother did, or what Spirit does, which is reminds you you can take the next step forward. It reminds you that you have the support of your family and friends, the relationships that you've had that have continued past the physical into the spiritual, continuing to support you. And when Shulam says all we need is hope, and that for that we have each other, we're not just speaking of all of us here in the Inner Spiritual Center's church service this morning. We're speaking of all of us, those in spirit as well. For them, we have each other. We have each other. They have us. We have them present to us. Some of you have moments where you're walking in the world and, you might find a blue jay's feather, or you might find a coin and attribute it to the presence of your father. In the moments that you receive the signs that remind you of the connection to your family, I say a big wow to that. Yesterday, before class started, not that you need to know that I shower, but of course I was showering. And in that moment, the song The Prayer came on. Song I played at my mother's funeral at her request. So before we went into the class for physical phenomena, mental thought, thanks, Mom, have a sense that you're around, look forward to seeing if you show up today. In the song again, Rise Up, all we need is hope, and that for that we have each other. Spirit is reminding us that not only do we have the physical relationships that we have in our friendships and in our exploration as human beings on this planet, but we have our relationships to those men and women whom we've loved, whom have crossed from this life, and who endeavor to show us through different means, mental, physical mediumship, trance mediumship, through different means they do their work to try to reassure us, to try to give us hope and encouragement, to help us to feel sometimes like we're not the chronological age that we are, but that we may in fact feel a little bit lighter and maybe feel like the non-chronological age that we feel we are meant to be throughout our lives. There's one more thought to this. In the experience of living a life, no one can predict truly what is going to happen in our lives. No one can tell us the good or the bad, and no one can fully tell us how we will respond to it. Every experience we have, we go through with the loving support of friends and family. But the experience is truly ours alone in the process. While everyone I could say who supported me in the surgical process and the recovery of that was phenomenal, but I was the one who went through it in that moment. The point of this is I'm trying to help you to understand for yourself. No one can tell us truly what will happen, but Spirit will always do its part to remind us that we are not alone in any process of life. So my prayer, my hope for every single one of you is that as you go through this Sunday and as you go through this week and as you live into your lives, that you still take those moments that get a little tough, like the walker, like the feeling of not being able to take another step and having Mom step in. Take those moments when you're feeling low and breathe. And remember what I've said, even if you can't sense that person in your life standing next to you, remember what I've said in this service. Because I have no doubt that in the moment that you're in your lowest, and even if you don't sense that person, I'm here to reassure you that they walk with you. I'm here to reassure you that in the moments you feel like you're 80, even if you're 62, or in the moments that you feel uninspired and flat, that Spirit here supports you so that it helps you to live into your life with a fullness and the exuberance of the younger sense of yourself. Age is irrelevant in this whole discussion technically. It doesn't matter what our age is because it's just a number in truth. Sharon, remind me I've said that when I hit my next birthday. But in this moment, ladies and gentlemen, the beauty of our spirit is such that it is timeless. And our connections to the men and women we've loved who have crossed from this life is eternal, are eternal. Those connections do not stop or die with physical death. As was evidenced for me in the moment with the walker, and perhaps today in the mediumship demonstration, there'll be some gentle reminders to all of you that life and love are eternal. Thank you for allowing me to serve you this day for Inner Spiritual Center.